Shivananda Lahiri, verse 51. भृङ्गीच्छानटनोत्कटः करिमदग्राही स्फुरन् माधवाह्लादो नादयुतो महासितवपुः पञ्चेषुणाचादृतः सत्पक्षः सुमनोवनेषु स पुनः साक्षान्मदीये मनोराजीवे भ्रमराधिपो विहरतां श्रीशैलवासी विभुः. अन्वय. विभुः श्रीशैलवासी भ्रमराधिपः भृङ्गीच्छानटनोत्कटः करिमदग्राही स्फुरन् माधवाह्लादः नादयुतः महासितवपुः पञ्चेषुणा आदृतः सुमनोवनेषु सत्पक्षः मनोराजीवे विहरताम्. In the previous shloka, Sri Shankara Bhagavatpada offered prayers to Lord Mallikarjuna in Sri Shailam. In this shloka, Bhagavatpada addresses Lord Mallikarjuna in a different way and seeks his blessings. The Lord is addressed as Bhramaradhipa. Lord Mallikarjuna's consort is Bhramarambika. So, Bhramaradhipa means Adhipa is Lord. Bhramara means Bhramarambika. So, husband of Bhramarambika is Bhramaradhipa. Such a great Bhramaradhipa, may he reside in this lotus mind of mine. This is the form of prayer in this verse. Bhramara also means honey bee. Bees like to stay in the lotus flower. That is why Bhagavatpada mentions the mind as lotus flower, and then he addresses the Lord as Bhramaradhipa, thus seeking that Bhramaradhipa should always choose to stay in my mind. The Lord Mallikarjuna in Sri Shailam is the second of the 12 Jyotirlingas in India. First is Someshwara and the second is Mallikarjuna. In yesterday's talk, we saw that Sri Shailam is a place for Jyotirlinga and it is also a Shakti Pitha. It is rare to find both Jyotirlinga and Shakti Pitha in the same place. So, Sri Shailam is a very significant town both spiritually and religiously. As Sri Shankara prays, may that Lord Bhramaradhipa in Sri Shailam reside in my mind. Then he proceeds to describe that Bhramaradhipa as Vibhuhu, the all-pervading, omnipresent. Vividham bhavati iti vibhuhu. That is, one who is manifest everywhere in many forms. Shruti says, Sokamayata bahusyam iti. He desired that I should become many. So, the one Lord appeared as many in different forms with different names. Such a great Vibhuhu, Sri Shaila Vasi. In nature, although manifest everywhere and all pervading, he is stationed in Sri Shailam in the form of a linga in order to bless the devotees. And he is also Bhramaradhipaha, Lord of or husband of Bhramarambika. As earlier, in this verse also, you will see that the same words convey two meanings. One connecting with Bhramarambika and the other Bhramara. So, such a great Mallikarjuna as Bhramaradhipaha, Bhringicha Natanotkataha. Bhringi is the name of an important attendant, that is a Mukhya Pramathagana of the Lord. And Icha, to fulfill his desire, Natanotkata, the Lord who showed so much delight in dancing for the devotee. Then he also Karimada Grahi. Kari is elephant, Mada is pride, Grahi will mean taking away. So Karimada Grahi means one who destroyed the pride of Gajasura. This Gajasura used to think that no one was more stronger than himself, and so he thought he was indestructible. So Karimada Grahi is one who destroyed this pride of Gajasura. Then Spuran Madhava Hladaha, one who expressed beautifully his desire for Lord Vishnu, who was in the form of Mohini. Nadayutaha, one with the sound of Omkara, that is united with the Pranava sound. Mahasita Vapuhu, Sita means bright white, Vapuhu means Sharira or body. So Mahasita Vapuhu means one who has a bright white complexioned body. Pancheshuna, Pancha is 5, Ishu means arrow. Therefore, Pancheshuna means one with 5 arrows, which implies Manmatha. So, Pancheshuna cha, that is by Manmatha also, Adritaha, one who was honored. Here, honoring means Manmatha had made Lord Shiva as the target of his arrows. Then Sumanovaneshu, Sumana Avaneshu. Here Sumana means Devatas and Yogis, Avaneshu in protecting them. That is one who is engaged in protecting the Devatas and Yogis. Then Satpakshaha, taking pride in protecting them. Such a Sri Shaila Vasi, Sakshat, in my direct vision, may he manifest, and Manorajive, in the lotus flower called my mind, Viharatam, may he move about happily. Essentially, the verse means, may that Lord Brahmaradhipa stay forever in my mind. Now we will see how all these same words imply Brahmara. Bhringi cha natanotkataha. Here Bhringa means Brahmara, the honey bee. It is dancing to the tune of the female bee. Karimada Grahi. The elephant's ichor has a very strong smell. The bees are found to be attracted to that smell, and so they are seen bumbling around the source of that ichor. So Karimada Grahi means the bees enjoying the ichor of elephants. Spuran Madhava Hladaha. Madhava also means Vasanta Ritu, spring season. So Spuran Madhava Hladaha means these bees, they show great joy during spring season. Nadayutaha, these bees make a humming sound. So Nadayutaha means the bumbling, humming sound of the bees heard during the spring season. And Mahasita Vapuhu, here this word Mahasita Vapuhu must be split as Maha Asita Vapuhu. So Asita means black. So Maha Asita Vapuhu means having a dark colored body. These bees they have a very peculiar dark color. This black is very exclusive to them. So having such a dark colored body, these bees, Pancheshuna, by Manmatha, they are chosen, and Adritaha, honored, which means Manmatha uses the help of these dark bumblebees during spring season to express a lot of delight and pleasure during that season. Sumano Vaneshu, here Sumana Vaneshu. Sumana means the flowers, Vaneshu in the gardens. In the flowering gardens, Satpakshaha, one who has desire to stay around these flowering gardens. Such a bee, Sakshat, to my direct perception, may it be visible. This will be the meaning of this verse in connection with the bees. Parvati's husband Shiva is all pervading and omnipresent, and yet he is stationed and resides in the hills of Sri Shailam with a desire to bless his devotees. According to the wish of his important Pramathagana named Bhringi, he shows his delightful divine dance, making everyone happy. Then he destroyed the ego and pride of Gajasura. He showed his infatuation towards the beautiful Mohini, who was none other than an incarnation of Lord Vishnu. Then he is always united and in sync with the sound of Pranavanada or Omkara. He is to be known by the Omkara. This great Paramashiva, taking a bright white body form, is honored by Manmatha, who desires to point his arrows at this great Parameshwara. Moreover, Paramashiva is constantly engaged in protecting the great yogis and devatas. May this indescribably great Paramashiva reside in my lotus mind permanently. This is the summary of this verse. Now, the word Nadayuta used in this verse is very significant. It implies that this great Paramashiva is the one to be known by Omkara, and also Omkara itself is a symbol giving the meaning of Paramashiva. Now, let us know something more about Omkara. Pranava is a name given to Omkara. Now, why is this name given? Because Om is the prana or life giver to all the beings, immovable, immovable, known and unknown. Giver of prana, therefore Pranava. This Om has 5 parts to it. A, U, Ma, Bindu, Nada. That is Akara, Ukara, Makara, Bindu and Nada. Of these, the Akara and Ukara, A and U, represent the principle of water element. Ma stands for Agni Tattva, principal element fire. A, U, Ma respectively comprise 3 matras. Now here matra means a syllabic instant, that is time required to pronounce a short syllable. The other 2, that is Bindu and Nada, they comprise half a matra each. Now the primordial cause, that is the Adi for Vedas, is Parameshwara. So a word denoting Parameshwara is Om. Therefore, Omkara denotes Vedas and everything that is existent, which means Omkara is the Adi, beginning for everything. For Akara, the Mahat Tattva is the Bija, that is base principle or seed principle, and its guna or quality is Rajoguna. Creator Chaturmukha Brahma is the governing deity of this principle. Then for Ukara, Prakriti Tattva is the Bija, its guna is Sattva Guna. The sustainer of the universe, Vishnu, is the governing deity of this principle. Governing deity means Adhidevata. Then for Makara, Purusha Tattva is Bija. Its guna is Tamo Guna. The destructive force, Samhara Karta, Hara, is the governing deity of this principle. Then for Bindu, Maheshwara is the governing deity. Tirobhava is his role of action, and Tirobhava means covering up. Then for Nada, one who blesses everyone, Anugraha Karta, Sadashiva is the governing deity. At the ultimate or the highest realm of Nada, the greatest of all Parameshwara must be meditated upon. In this way, that is Devata, Tattva, Bija. In that order, meditation must be commenced. In this 5-syllabled Om, the first one, Akara, represents the form of Sadyojata Murti. Then the second, Ukara, represents the form of Vamadeva Murti. The third, Makara, represents the form of Aghora Murti. Then the fourth, Bindu, represents the form of Tatpurusha Murti. And then the fifth, Nada, represents the form of Ishana Murti. So, collection of all these 5 syllables together is Pranava. We saw earlier while describing another verse, what is Ajapa Mantra? That is, unknowingly we utter so while inhaling and hum while exhaling. Now, knowingly, when we say so hum, if we remove the consonants from this mantra so hum, that is, remove s and h, that which remains is om. So, if we utter this portion of the mantra om with awareness, then such a japa om will give immeasurable benefits, is a matter of significance here. Then a descriptive understanding of japa will be like this. Firstly, collecting all the senses, bringing them under complete self-control, that is, internalizing the senses, and then focusing on the subtle body, that is our Sukshma Sharira, and then staying with the subtle internal vision of the Nada rising from the Mooladhara Chakra upwards. Finally, deliberating on this focus is japa, which means nada can never be seen as a syllable. It is to be felt and heard as an exclusive sound within the internal realm of the consciousness. As one continues to stay with this practice, when one reaches a point wherein only this sound resonates internally to the exclusion of everything else, then it means such a person has obtained the ultimate and is successful in japa. In other words, this perception of Omkara Nada is japa. This is the teaching of the seers. With this, explanation for this verse is concluded. Shivananda Lahiri, Shloka number 52. कारुण्यामृतवर्षिणं घनविपद्ग्रीष्मच्छिदाकर्मठं विद्यासस्य फलोदयाय सुमनः संसेव्यमिच्छाकृतिं नृत्यद्भक्तमयूरमद्रिनिलयं चञ्चज्जटामण्डलं शम्भो वाञ्छति नीलकन्धर सदा त्वां मे मनश्चातकः. अन्वय. हे नीलकंधर, हे शंभो, कारुण्यामृतवर्षिणं घन विपद्ग्रीष्मच्छिदा कर्मठं विद्यासस्य फलोदयाय सुमनः संसेव्यम् इच्छाकृतिं नृत्यद्भक्तमयूरम् अद्रिनिलयं चञ्चज्जटामण्डलं त्वां मे मनश्चातकः वाञ्छति sada. In the previous shloka, Sri Shankara addressed Lord Mallikarjuna in Sri Shailam as Brahmaradhipa, and then he prayed for the Lord to reside in the mind, which is the lotus flower. Now Bhagavad-pada describes his mind as the Chataka bird who always waits for the first raindrops to relieve its hunger. So, Lord Parameshwara is described as those clouds which will give that rain. Thus, he seeks the Lord's grace to be showered on him. Accordingly, in this verse also, the words give two meanings, one connecting with the clouds and the other connecting with Parameshwara. He Neelakandhara. Here, Kandhara means neck, one who has dark black complexioned neck. When the ocean was churned by Devas and Asuras, the deadly poisonous Kalakuta Visha came forth. Unable to withstand the poisonous fumes, when everyone ran here and there, Parameshwara rendered them fearless by consuming that poison and retaining it in the throat region. So his neck came to be dark in complexion, and so he is addressed as He Neelakandhara. Now the same word Neelakandhara denotes clouds also. Neela is very dark. Kandhara can be deciphered as Kam Dharati. Dharati iti dharaha, that which upholds. Kam means water. So Kam dhara is that which holds or carries water, which will give the meaning by implication as clouds. So Neelakandhara means dark clouds. This way, Neelakandhara has the meaning of Shiva and also a meaning of clouds. So, that great Shiva, or oh, you dark clouds. And then, He Shambho, that is, O Paramashiva, one who is the cause of all happiness. Since clouds also give happiness in the form of relief from heat, they are also addressed as Shambho. Then Karunyamrita Varshinam. Karunya is compassion. Amrita is nectar. Varshinam is one who rains. So, one who rains or pours down nectarine, compassion and grace. Now, this word Varshinam denotes nature of pouring down. So, significantly, Paramashiva is one whose nature is to rain nectarine compassion always. The word Amrita also means water. So, addressing the dark clouds, it means the dark clouds which pour down water. Then, Ghana Vipad Grishma Chida Karmatam. The summer many times brings drought. So, the severe Ghana, Vipad, dangerous and difficult, Grishma, the summer heat. Here, the summer heat is actually symbolic of difficulty. Then, Chida is destroying or giving relief. So, one who is continuously engaged in this act is a karmata. So, Parameshwara is one who is an expert in constantly being engaged in giving relief from great difficulties. Then, denoting the clouds, the meaning will be great difficulty for plants is they will dry and die without water in summer. So, it is the rains from dark clouds which will give the plants and vegetation relief from heat. So, Ghana Vipad Grishma Chida Karmatam will imply the clouds. Then Vidya Sasya Phalodayaya. Vidya is knowledge, and the knowledge is Sasya, plant or tree, and its fruit is Phala. Udayaya is the cause for that fruit. So, Paramashiva is the cause for obtaining the fruit named Brahmananda, which is the result given by the tree of knowledge, or that which born of the tree of knowledge is the Brahmananda. Then the clouds They become the cause for rain, which makes the plants yield fruits. In this way, this word connects to clouds also. Then the next word, Sumanas Samsevyam. Sumanaha means, as we saw earlier, devatas, scholars, and yogis. Samsevyam means fit to be worshipped. One who is eminent and very rightly worshipped by devatas and yogis. That Paramashiva. And then the other meaning is the word Sumanaha in connection with clouds is to be understood like this. That is, when plants yield fruits, the farmers feel very happy. That is, they are made Sumanaha, one with pleased mind. That which is sought, samsevyam, by the farmers is the rain bearing clouds. That is, farmers happily welcome the arrival of dark clouds. Then, Ichha Kritim, one who takes his own desired form. This implies both the clouds and Paramashiva. Then, Nrityad Bhakta Mayuram. Bhaktaha, the devotees, like the peacocks, dance in joy on seeing Paramashiva. Also, the peacocks are known to dance on seeing the clouds. That is, devotees are said to be like the peacock when they express delightment on seeing the Lord. So even as peacocks express delight and so they dance on seeing the clouds. In other words, the devotees on seeing the clouds ask the clouds to bring down rain, which is a form of happiness. Then Adri Nilayam. Adri means mountain. One who resides on the Kailasa mountains, that Paramashiva. Then generally we see clouds hanging around the mountain tops and pouring down rain. In this way, Adri Nilayam is a mountain, an abode for both Paramashiva and the clouds. Then Chanchajjata Mandalam, bright and shining matted locks. One who has that is Paramashiva. Then Jata also means lightning. So the Chanchajjata Mandalam will mean the clouds which also have bright lightning amidst them. Such a Tvam, that you, Paramashiva, may, my, Manaschatakaha, this mind, which is like the Chataka bird. In other words, Chataka bird known as my mind. Vanchati Sada, always desires for you. The Chataka bird is known to wait for the drops of rain to consume for its food. So, just as the Chataka bird very eagerly waits as though in penance for the first droplets of rainwater to fall, my mind also is in penance eagerly waiting for you, O Paramashiva. Like this, Sri Shankara Bhagavatpada has compared the mind to Chataka bird in order to express the eagerness with which, as a devotee, his mind desires to gain Paramashiva's grace. The great Nilakantha, who has deadly poison in his throat, is the one who always pours out waters of nectarine compassion. When one faces with very grave difficulties, the pain experienced by those difficulties is pacified and soothed by Paramashiva. And it is this Lord Paramashiva who has taken it up as his duty to remove difficulties. Paravidya is the plant which yields fruits of Brahmananda. To obtain this fruit, all the devatas and yogis always worship Paramashiva. Also, that great Paramashiva can manifest in any form he desires. The devotees are delighted to see your form, O Paramashiva. And you, Paramashiva, reside in Kailasa mountains, appearing grand in your matted locks. This my mind yearns with desire to have your vision. In other words, O Paramashiva, My mind is always engrossed in meditating on you. Such is the beautiful prayer by Sri Shankara in this verse. With this, explanation for this verse is concluded. Shivananda Lahiri, Shloka number 53. आकाशेन शिखी समस्तफणिनां नेत्राकलापी नतानुग्राहि प्रणवोपदेशनिनदैः केकीति योगीयते श्यामां शैलसमुद्भवां घनरुचिं दृष्ट्वा नटन्तं मुदा वेदान्तोपवने विहाररसिकं तं नीलकण्ठं भजे. Here the first two lines are in Anvaya, but I will just read it. Akashena shikhi samasta phaninam netra kalapi natanugrahi pranava upadesha ninadaihi keki iti yah giyate श्यामां घनरुचिं शैलसमुद्भवां दृष्ट्वा मुदा नटन्तं वेदान्त उपवने विहाररसिकं तं नीलकण्ठं भजे. In the previous shloka, Sri Shankara Bhagavatpada described Lord Shiva in the form of clouds and said that this mind, which is like Chataka bird, desires to see those clouds all the time. Then in this shloka, that Parameshwara is described in the form of a peacock. Then Sri Shankara uses the word Neelakantha, which has both the meaning of peacock and as Paramashiva. And thus he offers prayers to that Lord. Akashena, by the sky, Shikhi, Paramashiva is known as Vyomakesha also. That is, one who has the Akasha as the locks of hair. This word Shikhi itself means locks of hair. So, Akashena Shikhi denotes Paramashiva who has the sky as his locks of hair. Then, peacock is also known as Shikhi because of its feathery plumes. So, that Paramashiva who is also known by the name Shikhi, and then Samasta Phaninam. Phani means serpent. So, for all the serpents, Netra as the leader, that is, the leader is named Adisesha, by him, Kalapi, one who has as his ornaments. Now, here this word Kalapi denotes peacock. That is, the peacock tail is Kalapa, one who has Kalapa is Kalapi. So, peacock is one meaning for Kalapi. Then as for Shiva, the serpent leader Adisesha is the ornament. Therefore, he is also Kalapi. For peacock, it has the feathery tail denoted by the word Kalapa. Therefore, it is known as Kalapi, one who has a feathery tail iti. Thus, both Shiva and peacock are meanings implied by the word Kalapi. Then, Natanugrahi Pranava Upadesha Ninadaihi, one who has the nature to bless all those who offer namaskara to him. Nata Anugrahi. That Paramashiva, Pranava Upadesha, with words of Pranava as blessings. He is known as Keki. That is, such a sound he produces. Iti. This Keki is a synonymous word for peacock. The sound made by peacock is called Keka. One who makes the sound Keka is known by the name Keki, which is peacock over here. Then Pranavanada, that is sound of Om, is Paramashiva's Keka. Because he is the form of Pranava itself, he is also known as Keki. In other words, Paramashiva being the form of Omkara, he is of the nature of bestowing the Omkara as blessings to all those who offer namaskara to him. Iti, in this way, yaha, he who, giyate, is being praised. That is, the words of praise here are Shikhi, Kalapi, Keki. These three words denote the meaning of peacock, and because the qualities implied by these words are seen in Paramashiva also, he too is implied by the same words. Further, Shyamam, the dark colored, Ghanaruchim, the splendor of the dense clouds, Drishtva, seeing that, Shaila Samudbhavam. Samudbhava means born of the, Shaila means mountains. Clouds are known to hang over mountains. Then, being born to king of the mountains, Parvata Raja, Parvati is also a meaning implied by this word, Shaila Samudbhavam. Drishtva, having seen, that is, having seen the dark, dense, splendorous clouds, the peacocks, and then having seen Parvati, that Parameshwara, both peacock and Parameshwara. Thus, Muda, with delight, Natantam, they are seen to dance. That is, seeing the dark clouds and expecting rain, peacocks are very happy and they are seen dancing. Then, seeing Parvati overcome with delight, Paramashiva is seen dancing. Sacha Parameshwara, Vedantopavane, the peacocks dance in the forest gardens. Paramashiva is said to dance in the garden, but in the Vedanta garden. That means Upanishad is the garden in which Paramashiva dances. In that garden, Vihara Rasikam, one who is moving about happily. That is, Paramashiva happily dances in the garden of Upanishad, and the peacock dances in the forest. This Tam Neelakantham, that Paramashiva or peacock, Bhaje, I worship. Now, Paramashiva has been compared to the form of peacock, and the attributes which are in the peacock are pointed out as existing in Paramashiva. Thus, the words describing peacock are shown to imply the meaning of Paramashiva. Another name for Shiva is Vyomakesha. Vyoma means Akasha. Akasha is his matted locks of hair. So, Akashena, by Akasha, he is known as Shikhi. Then the king of serpents Adisesha is adorned by Paramashiva as a crest ornament. Therefore, he is known as Kalapi. Being one with the nature of always blessing his devotees and having Omkara sound as his form, he is known as Keki. Seeing the daughter of the mountain Parvati, he is happy and expresses his joy in the form of dance. Also, he always is seen roaming around happily in the garden of Upanishad. In other words, Upanishad talks about him throughout, or we can say, he is the one to be known by the words of Upanishad. Therefore, that great Neelakantha I pray to and worship. Now, this whole verse implies peacock also, like Shikha is the plumes. Therefore, Shikhi means peacock. Kalapa means the feathery tails, and since peacock has feathery tail, it is called Kalapi. Keka is the sound made by peacock, so it is called Keki. Peacock is inspired to dance when it sees the dark, dense clouds, and Parvati is the inspiration for Shiva to dance. Peacock dances in the forests while Shiva dances in the Upanishad garden, which means Paramashiva can be known only from the Upanishads. Both Peacock and Paramashiva have a blue neck, Neela Kantaha. Thus, keeping the word Neelakantha as the crux of this verse, Paramashiva and peacock have been described beautifully. This is the significance of this verse. With this, explanation for this verse is concluded. Shivananda Lahiri, verse number 54. सन्ध्याघर्मदिनात्ययो हरिकराघातप्रभूतानकध्वानो वारिदगर्जितं दिविशदां दृष्टिच्छटा चञ्चला भक्तानां परितोषबाष्पविततिर्वृष्टिर्मयूरी शिवा यस्मिन् उज्ज्वलताण्डवं विजयते तं नीलकण्ठं भजे. Actually, this verse itself is in the Anvaya format except only one place. However, I will separate the words and retell it. Sandhya Gharmadina Atyayah Harikaraghata Prabhuta Anaka Dhwanaha Varida Garjitam Divishadam Drishtichhata Chanchala Bhaktanam Paritosha Bashpa Vitatihi Vrishtihi Shiva Mayuri Yasmin Ujjvala Tandavam Vijayate Tam Neelakantham Bhaje. In the previous verse, Sri Shankara Bhagavatpada described Lord Paramashiva and the peacock by the same word Neelakantha. Now in this verse, Sri Shankara Bhagavatpada describes Paramashiva as peacock and Parvati as the peahen. And here also he uses the same word Neelakantha. Sandhya Gharma Dinatyayaha. Sandhya is evening. Gharma Dina is a hot day. Atyaya is the destruction or the passing away or the end of, which means it is evening time, so it is the end of a hot day in summer. And also, if you take the meaning as all the days are hot, then Gharma Dinatyaya will mean end of the hot summer days, which implies beginning of rainy season with dense clouds appearing in the sky. At such a time, Harikaraghata Prabhuta Anaka Dhwanaha. Hari means Vishnu. His Karaghata, hands, are beating the, therefore Prabhuta, loud, Anaka, drums, Dhwanaha, sound. The loud sound of the drums beaten by Vishnu's hands. It is popularly known that when Shiva danced, Vishnu played the mridangam. So, Anakadhwanaha means the sound of mridangam. And this sound is compared to Varida Garjitam. Varida is the clouds. So, the sound of thunder made by the clouds. Divishadam, the Devatas. Drishtichhata, their collective sight, that they are all seeing. Chanchala, this word Chanchala is a synonym for Vidyut, which means lightning. So these Devatas' sight is figuratively the lightning, and Bhaktanam, devotees worshipping Lord Shiva, they express Paritosha Bashpa Vitatihi, joy in the form of tears flowing down, which is Vrishtihi, rain. Shiva, Parvati is Mayuri, the peahen. On seeing that beautiful peahen, Yasmin, in whom, that is, in which Neelakantha, here if you take Mayuri as the peahen, then the meaning of Neelakantha will be peacock. If you take the meaning of Mayuri as Parvati, then Nilakantha will imply the meaning of Parameshwara. So, such a Nilakantha's Ujjwala Tandavam, the splendorous dance of great joy, Vijayate, is beautifully expressed. Tam, that Neelakantham, that is Parameshwara, or the male peacock with the blue neck, Bhaje, I worship. The arrival of rainy season is a cause for excitement to the peacocks. They are seen to start dancing in joy. The evening hours bring about the dance of joy called Ananda Tandava in Parvati's husband Parameshwara. It is known that Paramashiva's Ananda Tandava Nritya happens in the evenings. So here Parameshwara is described as Mayuraha and Parameshwari is described as Mayuri metaphorically. Gharmadina, that is in summertime, the evenings are cool. So evening of summer season denotes the onset of rainy season. Describing the rainy season, the sound of thunder is said to be the sound of mridangam played by Vishnu. The devatas seeing all this is the lightning. The devotees shedding tears of joy is the rainwater. Parvati is Mayuri, Paramashiva is Mayuraha. Just like the Mayura dances on seeing Mayuri, similarly on seeing Parvati, Paramashiva dances. That great Paramashiva who performs the splendorous Ananda Thandava dance of joy in the evening, I worship. It is to be understood that contextually here the word Mayuri is the base for mentioning Parvati. Other than that, there is no particular word describing Parvati herself as such. This description in this verse is to be visualized like it is cool evening hours. Lord Paramashiva is performing his best dance of joy. Vishnu is the Mridangam artist. Devatas are the audience watching this great dance with open, gaping eyes. The devotees seeing this dance are in awe, shedding tears of joy. Parvati Devi is also near Shiva, and taking in this whole picture in my mind, I offer worship to that great Parameshwara. This is the essence of the verse. In this verse, the description is in metaphors, so therefore, it is said to be structured in Rupaka Alankara. We will see a narration here as to how this dance came about. There was a Rakshasa by name Daruka. He gained divinely powers as a result of his severe penance. He was blessed with the boon that his death would occur only in the hands of a woman. Overcome by ego, this Daruka troubled all the Devatas and he became invincible. All the celestials prayed to Brahma, Vishnu, Shanmukha, and others for relief from the pains caused by Daruka. No female figure could defeat Daruka. So the Devatas once again returned to Brahma's abode. Brahma took all of them to Lord Shiva's presence. There, Parameshwara addressed Parvati and said, "Only you, Parvati, are capable of destroying Daruka." Now, understanding the message, according to Ishwara's words, Parvati used uh, one part of her power to merge in Parameshwara. She was physically seen to be present next to Shiva, so including Indra, no one knew that a part of Parvati had entered Parameshwara's body. Parvati made herself a part of the portion of poison in Nilakantha's neck. Then she manifested physically to everybody's direct vision in the form of a female with very dark complexion. This dark complexion was because of the poison in her. As soon as the dark complexioned Devi was visualized, the Rakshasas lost their power. That is, whatever action they performed yielded no result. Every action was rendered useless. Seeing that great Mahakali, even Brahma, Vishnu, and Indra ran away in fear. Mahakali's form was just like Shiva, her head adorning the crescent moon, her neck region having poison, her hands holding the trident Trishula, sword Khadga, and then her body adorning the serpent as ornament. She had long hanging earrings, etc. Like this, she appeared as another Shiva next to Parameshwara. Her forehead also was bright with the third eye. Now, in this fearful form, Devi Mahakali killed the Rakshasa Daruka. The vibrancy, energy, and power coming forth from Kali, and also the fire of anger exuding from her, started to burn the worlds. To pacify her fiery anger, and in order to bring down the heat, Paramashiva took the form of a baby crying for its mother. Sighting the crying baby, she carried him and nursed the baby. The baby being none other than Shiva, all the anger from Mother Kali was drawn out. Thus, her anger was appeased. Further, to bring peace and happiness to this form of Kali, Parameshwara performed his splendorous dance recital with his attendants and other celestials in the evening hours. Enjoying the sight of this dance to her heart's content, then gradually Devi also accompanied him in the dance of joy. Since then, Shiva's Ananda Tandava started. Nritya is classified as Tandava and Lasya. Dance with seriousness expressed by male artists is known as Tandava. And then the dance form with pleasing gentle expressions by female artists is known as Lasya. Purana says that since then Shiva's Tandava Nritya started. With this, explanation for this verse is concluded. Shivananda Lahiri, verse number 55. आद्यायामिततेजसे श्रुतिपदैः वेद्याय साध्यायते विद्यानन्दमयात्मने त्रिजगतः संरक्षणोद्योगिने ध्येयायाखिलयोगिभिः सुरगणैर्गेयाय मायाविने सम्यक् ताण्डवसम्भ्रमाय जटिने सेयं नतिशम्भवे. Actually, this verse is in Anvaya format. However, I will retell the padams separately. Adhyaya Amita Tejase Shruti Vedyaya Sadhyaya Te Vidyanandamayatmane Trijagatah Samrakshana Udyogine Dhyeyaya Akhila Yogibhihi Suraganaihi Geyaya, or you can say Akhila Yogibhihi Dhyeyaya, then Suraganaihi Geyaya Mayavine Samyak Tandava Sambramaya Jatine Sa Iyam Natihi Shambhave, or you can put the Sambodhana first. Shambhave Sa Iyam Natihi. So now we'll see the meaning. Through most of the shlokas that we have learned till now, Sri Shankara Bhagavatpada has offered his salutations to Parameshwara, describing him in many forms. Now in this verse, he offers salutations to Parameshwara in his pure form of auspiciousness. Sa iyam natihi shambhave. This salutation is to the form of happiness. Why has Bhagavad Pada chosen only the name Shambhu and not other forms of God? Being the cause for the existence of the whole universe, and further, being the indweller of all the beings, offering salutation to such a pure form is the best and most appropriate, because Shambhu is all pervading in his pure form, and so he includes all the forms of Devatas. Adhyaya, one who has been in existence even before the manifest form of creation. Unto him my salutations. Now, all the words in this verse, Adhyaya, Amita Tejase, Vedyaya, Sadhyaya, etc., are in the fourth case ending, Chaturthi Vibhakti, implying Parameshwara. So, all the attributes are for that Parameshwara, and salutations are offered unto him. So now we saw the first word of description, Adhyaya, which also means the primeval God. Unto him, Namaskara. Then Amita Tejase, one who is in the form of immeasurable brilliance. Now, how do we know that Parameshwara, how he was before creation, and how is it that he is in the brilliant form? As an answer to this is the next word, Shruti Padaihi Vedyaya. He is the one to be known by the words of the Vedas. Then the question comes, how do we do puja and archana to him? Sadhyaya. He is the goal to be attained by all the sadhanas, that is, means of worship and the means for knowing him. In other words, just to bless the devotees, he exists in the various forms, that is, as murti or as idols to be worshipped. Then, what could be his nature of existence? Vidyananda Mayatmane. It is Vidya, that is as self knowledge. Then Ananda, as the content of happiness. That is, the form of self knowledge is him, the form of happiness experienced is also him. Atmane means that is the nature of Parameshwara. Then a question is likely, what would be the action he performs? So the next word, Trijagataha, of the three worlds, Samrakshana Udyogine, in protecting them, one who is always engaged. Then how to understand and perceive this Parameshwara? Akhila yogi bhihi dhyeyaya. When all the yogis are in the state of equanimity, that is samadhi sthiti, that which is meditated upon, that is the content of meditation, and in that state, what is experienced by these yogis is Parameshwara. That is, only the great seers and sages can understand and visualize him. To this kind of Parameshwara, who will sing verses praising him? Suraganaihi Geyaya. The groups of Devatas sing verses in praise of Parameshwara. That is, only he is fit to receive verses of praise. Then, what is the power in him like? That is, Maya Vine, the Chit Shakti, power in the form of consciousness known as Maya, exists in him. So we call him Mayavi. Unto that Mayavi. So he is referred to as Mayavine in this verse. Samyak Tandava Sambramaya, one who is involved with his own dance of joy. Tandava Nritya. Sambramaya means engrossed in, and then Samyak Tandava is the beautiful dance of joy. Then Jatine, one who is full of tresses. with the intention of blessing the devotees, he is the one who manifests in the form of a Muni. Such a great Shambhave. Sham means happiness or absolute bliss. The meaning of happiness in all these, one has to understand, is that which does not have an opposite. So, therefore, we also use the word absolute bliss. So, bhave means born of. That is, from whom happiness is born, unto that form of happiness. In other words, one who is the cause for the birth of happiness is Shambhu. So, unto that Shambhave, Sa Yam Natihi is my this salutation offered. Lord Shiva is the rudimentary, causeless cause for the existence of all that is known and unknown in the universe. He is in the form of brilliance, and it is He who is to be known by the words of Vedas. He is the goal to be attained by all. His nature is in the form of awareness and knowledge. He is always performing the task of protecting the three worlds. The yogis visualize and experience Him in their state of samadhi, and He is the one praised by groups of devatas. He is the Lord of Maya, and to such a great Shambhu, who also adorns many tresses and enjoys his dance, I offer my namaskara. There are words in Shastra which imply the meaning of Adhyaya and Amita Tejase. Sarvasya dhataram achintya roopam adityavarnam tamasaf parastat. In this, Sarvasya dhataram means one who sustains everything in order, that is, by setting them in order and then protecting them also. So, he is Adya. Then the word Aditya Varnam denotes the meaning one who is as brilliant as the sun. Such a Paramatma or Parameshwara is Amita Tejase. Parameshwara is the only one existing before creation. Then he exists as the cause of creation, but himself is self existent in a very subtle form. He is the one with the three qualities Sattva, Rajas, and Tamoguna, yet he is not affected by any of these gunas. He cannot be perceived by the sense organs, although he is in the form of the whole universe. And it is he who is Parabrahma Vastu, beyond the realm of ordinary perception. It is said that Paramashiva existed pervading the universe even before creation came to be known. So, during the time of creation, he was the substratum for the universe, that is Jagat. As the substratum, this Brahma Vastu became connected with Prakriti, that is Prakriti in the form of Sattva, Rajas, Tamoguna variations came to be manifested as creation. When Sattva, Rajas, and Tamoguna are in equilibrium, there cannot be creation. So, only when there are differences and variations in the three gunas, creation comes into existence. This is one of the models of creation explained in the Purana. Now, how to understand this Parabrahman? Now, when we see an exceptional power in or some extraordinary skill or some very exemplary virtue in anyone or any object in the world, it is to be known as an expression of the power of Brahman. For the sustenance of the universe, along with Sattva Guna, Rajoguna and Tamoguna are also necessary. In other words, these three gunas in different proportions cause the existence to contain and to be continued. Significance here is each and every one of us is endowed with the power to transcend these gunas and know the absolute truth, which is Parabrahman. Now, Why we do not know this Parabrahman is because the truth is glazed over by the powerful Maya and projected as something else. What is this Maya? This is a power which functions in two ways, known as Vikshepa Shakti and Avarana Shakti. When the reality of any object is completely covered and shown as something entirely different, then that is known as Vikshepa Shakti. For example, the appearance of water in a desert on a sunny day, known as mirage. From a distance, because of bright sunlight in the desert sand, one sees water, where in reality there is no water. So, although in reality there is no water, when presence of water is perceived, this is due to Vikshepa Shakti. Then, when the cause of any object is completely covered, I repeat, the cause of any object is completely covered and only the effect is visible, then it is known as Avarana Shakti. For example, we see a huge tree. Specifically, you can think of the banyan tree. The seed, which is the cause for the existence of that tree, is totally out of sight during the stages of sprouting. Then the small plant which grows and then becomes a huge tree, branches out, it gives out flowers, fruits, etc. Now the cause of this whole object, which is a small seed, is not visible at all. This not knowing the cause is because of Avarana Shakti. This Maya Shakti is something very difficult to understand. The apparent reality is seen and understood to be a fact by the conditioned mind. So, transcending this apparent reality, which is known as Mithya Jagat, is a remote possibility. The Jagat is present but is not the truth. Also, it is not absent or false, so it cannot be dismissed either. Now, being caught up in this kind of perception, that is, an object is because I perceive it, but it is only as though is, therefore apparent. This is one way of understanding Maya. There are two connections known as Avinabhava Sambandha and Tattvika Sambandha. The non-separateness of Ishvara and Jagat is known as Avinabhava Sambandha. The oneness of Jivatma and Paramatma is known as Tattvika Sambandha. Now, both these Avinabhava Sambandha and Tattvika Sambandha, they denote the fact that all that exists is only Paramatma or Ishvara. There is no other. This fact is not realized by us because of Maya. Now, this not realizing is also referred to as avidya or ignorance of the fact, which means we are subject to Maya and we are under the influence of Maya Shakti. But Parameshwara is the Lord of such a Maya Shakti. He controls Maya Shakti. Such a great Parameshwara is the one prayed to in this verse by Sri Shankara Bhagavad Pada. This is the meaning pointed out by the word Mayavine in this verse. With this, explanation for this verse is concluded.